Hey, Liz.
Hey, Olu. How was break? How was your break away from the podcast?
I mean, it was a much needed break. A lot went down and a lot keeps going down.
Yes,
Um,
yes. What else is new? A lot is always happening.
yeah. But it was, refreshing to see Democratic leaders step up over the last month or so. It's
That's
been
true.
good to see.
Yeah, the governors and the AGs. Yes,
Yeah.
they have been doing their jobs, and we appreciate that from them. But we're back from break, so let's start the show.
All right. So, my favorite moment, I guess, in the past month or so is this bizarro cabinet meeting that Trump held with members of his cabinet, Secretary for Labor, Treasury Secretary. All of these folks were in there.
Yeah,
And it was like something right out of North Korea.
I believe the Gen Alphas are calling it glazing. I think that's the verb they use for
Oh,
what was
isn't
going
that
on here.
pornographic?
What? Where did you hear that?
Yeah.
It's what? No,
Okay, I don't know what
glazing?
glazing is.
Like to glaze a donut? What did you hear?
Okay, never mind. This is a,
Uh-oh.
kid-friendly show, so let's just move on.
Okay. Because I was like, wait. I mean, glazing like to pump someone up falsely, I guess. But let's
Okay.
hear a little bit of what happened during this cabinet meeting. That's totally normal, totally expected.
Under your leadership, we are going to revitalize and make shipbuilding and maritime great again.
At the Trump EPA, we're going to make you proud.
The honor and respect we have for each other is a reflection of you and your leadership.
Thanks to your leadership.
You were overwhelmingly elected by the biggest majority.
Well, Mr. President, thank you for your leadership at the border.
That's just a typical Trump meeting, it seems. This is a couple of clips from Trump cabinet meetings over the first. What month are we into this presidency, by the way, now? 8?
I mean,
Yeah.
it's been 83 years, but yeah.
83. That's a callback to a Titanic meme, by the way, for those who don't know. But yes, that is how every Trump cabinet meeting goes these days. And it's really annoying to watch if you've ever seen it happen. It's very irritating.
I mean, and each and every person just stumbling over themselves to outdo the next person, right? So on and on it goes. Thank you for the opportunity to work for you. Thank you for being the greatest leader. RFK Jr. said he was going to save the whales as if he's Aquaman or something, and he's going to be literally like dragging the whales.
He's
out
going to
of the
save
water.
the whales as Health and Human Services Secretary of whales. I don't understand. How's that working?
I know, but like RFK Jr. is telling Trump that Trump is going to save the whales. How that's going to happen, I don't know.
I think that's bullshit as well.
But it's just so irritating. And then like Lori Chavez was talking about how I invite you to look at your big beautiful face on our Department of Labor. I mean, we've all seen those images, right, coming out of like Stalin's Communist Party, where it's literally gigantic pictures of Stalin over like government buildings. Like that's where we are at now, and they are just out there praising him in the most undignified, shameless way.
Well, I think that is the usual way to get through to Trump. But unfortunately for him, I guess, one of the people who is in his cabinet and is probably not, I would say, in a, what's the word I'm going to use? In a mood to be glazing Trump is our Secretary of Treasury.
Yeah, especially because the labor market is failing, right? We have been talking about how people are losing their jobs in the federal government, but it is actually beginning to affect the private sector, right? So only 22,000 jobs were added in August, right? And this is the lowest number of jobs that has been reported since 2020. Essentially, since 2020, during the height of the pandemic, we've not had this low of a new jobs added statistic.
Yep.
And this is also in the height of the summer. It's August, this is not like the end of the year. It's just like flashing red light recession. Like, I don't see, like, what's a bigger recession indicator than this, right? Like, it is crazy.
Yeah, the jobs report that came out was something that I don't think surprised most people who are paying attention. If you have been on TikTok, if you've been on any sort of, I guess, subreddits or emails, not emails, subreddits or group chats or conversations, you know that there are people who have been unemployed or underemployed for months and months and months and months at this point. It's not a question that it's difficult to get hired in today's economy. What has been interesting, though, is the response that Trump got to his numbers was very, to me, muted in, let's call it, mainstream media. And I understand you may be thinking to yourself listening to this, hey, how is that possible? All the news was talking about it. Yes, they were. Yes, they were. Of course they were, because the news broke on Friday. But I expected to hear more about how the economy is doing terrible and jobs aren't doing great and things are hard for people. I have not seen that. But last year, when Joe Biden was on average creating 150,000 jobs a month, all anyone could talk about was inflation, the cost of living, the economy is terrible, everyone feels so bad, it's so hard out there. And that was at 150,000 jobs a month. So now that we're at, on average, I think Trump has done 30,000 in this first few months. How are we not hearing more about this? If you hear from people who are looking for work, they feel like nobody is talking to them or paying attention to them because it's not like headline news. But last year, all anyone could talk about was the price of eggs. Now we're not even talking about it, in sort of the news. I don't know why this happens. I mean, I kind of do know. It's because the media is the media and they only do what gets them clicks. And last year that was talking about the economy. This year I don't actually know what they're talking about instead. But it's crazy to me that we're just allowing this to continue happening. This man is driving our previously healthy economy, or at least recovering economy, into the ground, and nobody's saying anything.
I know exactly what you mean, and I want to maybe name one of the things that you might have expected, right? I think you would have expected business leaders to sound the same level of alarms that they sounded during the Biden administration, right? I mean, Kevin O'Leary and Jamie Dimon or Dimon, I don't have to fuck to say that.
It's Diamond.
Diamond.
It's not Demon.
All of these people were out there, just yelling and, giving all of these apocalyptic, predictions about what was going to happen to the economy. And, now most of them, most tech leaders, most CEOs are also just schmoozing Trump and essentially promising him all sorts of remunerations and all sorts of promises in exchange for not being prosecuted, I guess, because that's the current climate that we're in. They're literally there. It's a shakedown. It's a hostage situation. They know they're there to make him look good, and they know they have to pull out numbers from their ass to make it seem like the economy is doing great.
Yeah, and we have seen in the time when we were on break, like Tim Apple, not Tim Cook. Tim Apple went to Trump and gave him that gold plaque. That was just so irritating to watch as an iPhone user. I was like, holy crap, dude. And then they had that tech leaders dinner a couple of days ago where Mark Zuckerberg from Meta was at the dinner and was put on the spot. We know this because he was caught on a hot mic later, but Trump put him on the spot to be like, how much are you investing? And Mark Zuckerberg pulled a number out of his behind. Actually, we can just listen to it. You guys don't have to, you don't have to, what's it called? You don't have to take my word for it. Let's just hear what Mark Zuckerberg said, because I think it's worth hearing when next time you see Trump touting some tech company is investing in America because he has basically taken them to the cleaners.
How much are you spending, would you say, over the next few years?
Oh, gosh. I think it's probably going to be something like, I don't know, at least $600 billion through 28 in the U.S. Yeah.
It's a lot.
No, it's significant.
That's a lot. Thank you, Mark. It's great to have you.
Sorry, I wasn't ready to do it for announcement.
He said I wasn't sure what number you wanted to go in.
For context, at the end, Mark Zuckerberg says, sorry, I wasn't sure to do that. I wasn't sure what number you wanted me to go with. So he just pulled that number out of his ass.
Yeah.
Stunning.
It's a stunning admission, right? Like, if Trump wanted him to say $600 trillion, $600 quadrillion, that's exactly what he would say, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's such a shameless episode in our economic history where these people who have claimed to be geniuses, who have claimed to be, masters of the economy, at the end of the day, they're just reduced to sycophancy and just shameless butt kissing just to save their own asses, right? Because this is what happens when you elect somebody who feels like he's a technocrat and all of the oligarchs owe their position to him.
Yep, it's basically what happens in Russia. That's what Putin does. He brings out his rich people and he makes them basically glaze him, as we established earlier, on TV. And that's what they do. And it's just interesting because that number that Mark Zuckerberg is throwing out, it is very likely that Facebook is actually planning to invest $600 billion. Even half of that is still a lot of money, right? That's a decent amount of money to invest in the US. The problem here is these are investments that Facebook and Meta were already planning to do. They are in a massive AI arms race with other tech companies. And so they are definitely investing in infrastructure, in hiring some, in my opinion, extremely overpaid AI engineers. They are doing that. It's not a question. The issue is when you phrase it in this context, bring it up in front of Trump, then Trump takes credit for it. Then Trump voters tell you, oh, Trump convinced Mark Zuckerberg to invest $600 billion in the US. But that's money that Meta was going to invest anyway. This is not new money. This is literally what Apple did last time. That's what Tim Cook did last time he showed up to the White House. He said they were going to invest a bunch of money. Those are factories they were already planning to build because of the Chips and Science Act that Joe Biden passed. They were already doing this, but Trump takes credit for it. People hear it and think, oh, the economy is doing amazing. Meanwhile, there's hundreds of thousands of people who are unemployed or out of work, who are unemployed or laid off or underemployed, which is a big issue, or people who just don't even collect unemployment benefits anymore. So they're not even counted. It is not fun out there. And yet you're watching the news, you're watching TV, you're listening to Trump voters, and they keep telling you how great everything is. They're literally on social media saying how amazing everything is. For some of them, mind you, not all of them. And then that's another topic we'll get to eventually. But usually what I see on social media is people saying how great things are while I'm looking around me and the reality is very different.
I understand what you mean, right? Because a lot of voters, especially professional voters like computer engineers and, software folks and project managers, right? They take their cues from these very people who are there, kissing Trump's ass, right? So if those people are being influenced by these business leaders and the business leaders are willingly engaging in lying to the American people, they are not going to know exactly what is going on, right? Because they're getting the wrong information from the people that they trust. And at the end of the day, these people, it is in their best interest that they stay on Trump's good side, right? Like the very next day after this meeting where Google's CEO was also there, guess what? Trump is threatening the EU Commission to drop their punitive $3.5 billion fine against Google for antitrust violations, right?
Wow.
Like, it does
Seems like
pay.
a great return for a simple dinner.
Exactly. It does pay to be there, hand him a tacky gold plaque, throw out whatever numbers he wants you to throw out, knowing fully well it's completely made up and has no root in reality, right? I mean, I don't approve of it, but logically I see why it's worth their time.
Yeah, agreed. And I really want to talk about some things that came out in this job report, because there are so many ways in which it shows how fucked we are. One thing that I just found absolutely ironic: construction companies, an industry that relies on immigrant workers. Let's be honest, right? Some of them are undocumented. We all know this. It's sort of an open secret in America. But this industry, I was told, when Trump starts the deportations, there's going to be so many jobs for Americans. Fun fact, construction cut jobs for the third straight month in August, in an environment where ICE is doing raids. So they're deporting workers. They're deporting immigrant workers. Trump is doing that. But the American jobs are not materializing because the economy is so shit. Nobody is building stuff at a scale at which the construction industry needs to hire more people. So we're deporting some of their labor force, and they're still cutting jobs. So that is not working. That plan of, all of a sudden you're going to get a bunch of Americans, building houses, etc. That's not happening. That's not materializing, even though Trump is deporting people from that usually work in construction. Another thing that just, again, completely ironic. Some people, not everyone, we all know that some 90% of Black people voted for Kamala Harris and did the right thing, in my opinion. There is the Black MAGA contingent. And what I kept hearing from them last year was that Trump is going to be great for Black jobs. Remember the joke about Black jobs and Black unemployment?
Yeah.
Since last year, what do you think has happened to Black unemployment?
Well, yeah, Black unemployment has dropped. Ironically, while other demographics are either stable or stagnant or moving up a little bit.
So you said dropped. I think you mean it went up. Black unemployment.
Oh,
not
sorry.
Black employment. But yes, Black unemployment has gone up.
Unemployment numbers,
have gone up.
Went up.
Yeah. It has gone. At the beginning of this year, Black unemployment was at 6.2%, which is and was above average. Let's be clear. Nobody ever said it wasn't. But now it's at 7.5%, and it has been increasing every month since February. Why do we think that is? Youth unemployment amongst people in ages 18 to 24, a demographic that went for Trump heavier than usual, heavier than most people expected. Unemployment is also high in that group. These young people graduating from college are the most affected by the current job market because they have the least work experience. Things are crazy out there, and Trump wants you to think you're the one that's imagining things. Everything is great. It's fucking perfect. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and now the official line is that people who are complaining about unemployment are doing it specifically to attack Trump, right? So
Yep.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, of all people, tweeted or posted a TikTok video of a woman in the Midwest complaining about, not being able to feed her children and afford housing and not being able to find a job. And the Commerce Secretary's response was just, yeah, this is made up.
Totally made up. That woman is imagining things, and if she just pulls herself up by her bootstraps, she'll be fine. It's just a ridiculous way to operate. And I continue to wonder when Trump voters will wake up and realize this man doesn't care about you. He never has. He never will. And basically neither do people in his administration. They just want power. They just want control. They just want to mold the U.S. into the country they think it should look like. And realistically, that's not a country a lot of us would be comfortable or successful in, like truly. So that actually is a great way to move to our next story.
I was going to say, they are waking up to pray. So does that count?
They are waking up to pray. They are waking up to pray. Yeah. This story has been making rounds on, let's call it political TikTok or political social media, because it has been, so let's say surprising how it has resonated with people on the left. And I'm going to let Olu introduce it because I need to load the clip because it bears listening to, but I'm going to let Olu explain what's going on with the farmers. And it's not just in this one state, but we're going to focus on the farmers in Arkansas because that was the story that was trending on socials.
So Arkansas farmers are facing very, very low farm yields because of flooding, right? And, they are losing money. They can't afford to also pay workers because guess what? All of their workers are being deported or arrested. And then the cost of fuel, the cost of electricity, everything is going up. So unfortunately, they're about to lose their farms. And
well, we're missing one very important thing because in this environment that Olu has just described, where costs are going up because of inflation for their equipment and the parts they need, Mother Nature is not cooperating. In that environment, what did Trump do in April? He instituted tariffs. And wouldn't you know, a lot of Arkansas farmers apparently, I don't know if they knew this even, this was news to me as well, but apparently a lot of Arkansas farmers sell their crops like soybean to China. And I guess they didn't realize this when the tariffs were announced. But now they're realizing, oh, China doesn't want to buy soybean from us anymore. This might be an issue.
Yes. So prices for corn, soybean, and wheat fell to the lowest levels since 2020 because there's no demand for them. So, yeah, input is shit. Output is also a clusterfuck.
Basically.
So these farms are about to close. And, the stories are really sad. It's multi-generational farms, 6 years. And they're about to close. But please roll the tape.
Yes, let's roll the tape because, as I said, it bears hearing with your own ears.
President Trump to provide emergency funding to help them make it to next year.
We have to have ad hoc payments right now to make it through this year.
If there's no emergency funding this year, there will be 1 out of 3 farmers will file bankruptcy.
Their cries for help did not appear to fall on deaf ears.
We're going to take your message. We're going to get it back to D.C. We're going to do everything we can to get you the help you need.
Until the federal government steps in to save them, farmers have no one to turn to but God.
Farmers, in my opinion, Lord, and it's only my opinion, are closer to thee than anyone else on this earth because we deal with your earth every day. Dear Lord, we're hurting you, Lord. We can't help what's happened to us.
It's hard not to be moved by the cries of the people who put food on your table.
So I want to pause there because you may not have heard the prayer the pastor was saying. This is at a meeting. A few hundred farmers showed up to speak to their congresspeople to beg for help, and the prayer that the pastor was saying was summarizing that farmers are the closest to God's earth because obviously they're farmers, and for some reason he believed that that meant that their prayer should take priority. I don't know if you imagine God and heaven as some sort of like DMV situation. They're imagining that because they farm the land, their request should receive priority, and they should be at the front of the line when it comes to answering prayer. That's the message I took.
Yeah, I mean, he thinks he's got a TSA pre-check to God, right? Like that's what's happening right
More
there.
like clear. Sometimes TSA pre-check, you get there, there's still a line. So clear. He thinks he has clear at the airport. It's an interesting way to pray. I know a lot of evangelical Christians seem to pray that way, where they kind of like start their prayer with establishing why they're important to God, and then they ask for the thing they want. That seems like this man's approach. Some 75% of these people voted for Trump. Like over 70% of our farmers voted for Trump. In a state dependent on farming, in a state with people who are dependent on foreign countries purchasing their product, either they didn't know that Trump was going to institute tariffs, which I mean, I'm actually left speechless by that possibility, because how the fuck could you not know? Or they did know, but they were so eager to own the libs, or whatever reason they gave themselves, that they still voted for Trump. I remain confused.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely correct. Like the whole state voted 64% for Trump, but the counties where these people are from, which is not like Little Rock or Pine Bluff where the Democrats are, yeah, like 80%, 90% overwhelmingly voted for Trump. But this is the hallmark of the Trump voter, right? This is why it is so hard to feel any sympathy for these people, right? Even if you want to feel sympathy for people who are dealing with the consequences of their actions, even when they come out to complain, their complaint is that we are the better people that God and Trump should love, right? Not those other people, right? Like, it's literally the same thing. Like, yeah, it's fine what he's doing elsewhere, paying other people who are losing their jobs, paying them welfare checks, SNAP benefits. That's socialism. But we're about to lose our farm, so we need emergency payment. And that's just because God loves us.
Yeah.
That's the thinking.
Yeah, and I wanna clarify a little bit, because if you're not in the U.S., or even if you are in the U.S., you may not realize that in the U.S., the USDA, the U.S. government, subsidizes farming or agricultural producers to a certain extent. So between like 2019 to 2023, 24, I think almost a million, they call them like agricultural producers, received some type of assistance, some sort of subsidy from the U.S. government. The U.S. government passes a farm bill every budget year that basically is money that the government gives to farmers to subsidize them for, I don't know all the reasons. There's lots of reasons. And over the years, the farm types change, the amount of money changes. But every year, our tax-paying dollars go to subsidize America's agricultural industry. And in return, these farmers are providing us food, obviously. I mean, we all need to eat. They are feeding us. And that is a reasonable thing. I know some people actually have a problem with the fact that we have a farm bill and we subsidize farmers, but that is something we have all agreed to do as a country. We will help the farmers out. They are feeding us. They are doing an important job, and we don't want them to fail. The issue you run into with these Arkansas farmers is that what they are asking for, I don't know if you heard the man say they need emergency funding. They are asking for something outside of the usual annual subsidy. They are saying, we know there's a subsidy for 2025. We need emergency help on top of that right effing now, or our farms are going to fail. They are asking for outside extra special emergency funding.
I mean, they're asking for socialism.
They are. They're literally asking for socialism. And I'm sitting here listening. This is not the only video like this out there, by the way. And it's not only in Arkansas. I don't want you to think this is a Southern thing. There are many states like this where most people voted for Trump. They depend on agriculture. Tariffs are causing an issue for for international buyers to buy their product. Prices are down because there's too much supply. Mother Nature isn't cooperating, so they're not getting the harvest they need. So much is happening to America's crop farmers right now. And it's easy to say they should have the day they voted for. I saw a lot of that. If you go to this video on YouTube, which we got from a local Arkansas, like ABC7 Arkansas station, you will see people say in the comments, these people are having the day they voted for. But I actually think it's deeper than that. We really have no concept of how someone who is in this precarious a position could vote for someone like Trump, who so clearly telegraphed that he was going to fuck shit up for them. I don't know how much clearer he could have been. And I don't know how they fell for it.
I mean, they fell for it by imagining that this was going to happen to Black and brown people, period, right? Like, that is the only reason, right? Because we keep running into this since 2016. We keep running into the idea of economic anxiety. And time again, we see them like shoot themselves in the foot economically. The only answer is that they believe in welfare queens, right? And they believe in the image of welfare queens that Fox News has sold to them, which is Black and brown people. But like when they are getting emergency funding separate from the other subsidies that the government already provides to them, like that's just God moving in mysterious ways, right? That's just God
answering prayers. That's what that
exactly is. Right. Meanwhile, if you are a Latino person who wants to go to community college and wants your, college debt forgiven or wants a scholarship, that's socialism, right?
Yep.
You don't deserve it.
You do not. And that's a lot of what I saw online, quite honestly, is people saying, why are these farmers asking for socialism? They should pull themselves up by their bootstraps. Some really creative ways that people basically said these people should go screw themselves. I don't know how this is going to go. The reality is the Arkansas farmers are represented in D.C., by Tom Cotton, Republican senator, and I can't remember the other guy's name, unfortunately. Their two senators are Republicans.
I just want to say, how can you be less memorable than Tom Cotton?
I don't know. I'm actually going to look it up right now. The other senator's
quite
name,
an achievement.
So we can be okay. There you go. John Boozman is the other senator from Arkansas. So those two senators are Republicans. They are the majority party. So maybe they will go to the head of the Senate and ask for special treatment just for their state, which I'm sure will begin a cascade of special requests because, as I said, the Arkansas farmers are not the only farmers who are struggling. So why would we help them and not a Texas farmer or a Kansas farmer or, Missouri farmer? I don't know, but we'll see how DC handles this. This meeting, like I said, was people trying to share, the farmers trying to share how dire their straits are in. We'll see if their senators are able to do anything. Realistically, I don't think so. And in that video, earlier in the video, one of the farmers had said that if they don't get help, about a third of farms will close. I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I am going to throw this out there. JD Vance has investors and vested interest in the kinds of companies that would love to buy up a bunch of distressed farms. I'm not saying that's why this is happening. I'm just telling you I found that interesting. And that's where I'll leave that.
I mean, but this is the point that a lot of Democratic governors are bringing up, right? About these states like Arkansas, where the governor is Republican, the House of Reps is Republican, the senators are all Republican, right? And they actually rely on all of the federal tax dollars that come from the states that they hate the most, which is California and New York, right? Like this emergency funding that they're asking the federal government to give them is going to be from the states that pay the most taxes back to the government. And
that's true.
They have immense disdain for this very people, right? Like they want Trump to go in there and, you know, essentially turn those states into a military occupied state. They are cheering that on. They want those states to essentially descend into a kind of civil war scenario where like there's violence in the streets, they can't move around. They're cheering all of that on. Like, I don't understand what everybody thinks, like, what the consequences of all of this is, right? If we continue to see ICE and police and the National Guard go into our most vibrant cities, where people are afraid to go out, where people are afraid to go by their businesses, how are those states going to be able to remit revenue back to the federal government? I don't... It's so hard not to despair because everything is just like fucked up.
I do agree. And I think the question is not how. The question for me is, should they continue to remit money to the federal government? I know for a fact there are school districts, there are hospitals, there are counties in blue states that are struggling. They had a bunch of revenue come in, you know, with the post-COVID bills that passed that were funding local projects and, you know, road improvements and infrastructure and all of that Democratic money that was handed out to all the states, mind you, all 50 states. I don't remember if you guys remember Biden's infrastructure bill, for example. There was a lot of money being thrown around to invest in states. And then that money, because of Trump, has dried up. And in an environment where the federal government is cutting funds for infrastructure, for schools, for hospitals, you know, for providing services for the social safety net for the residents of these states, why should these well-off blue states continue to send their money to the federal government when they have residents that need it at home? What is the purpose of that? What is the purpose of California sending their tax revenue to DC only to have that tax revenue go to, let's say, Arkansas farmers when there are people in California that need help because the government has cut SNAP benefits? You see the problem? That's my question. Why should the blue states continue to send money when they have people that need that money at home?
Absolutely. You're absolutely correct, right? Like, if our listeners don't know, states have to fund the healthcare programs, right? Like there's Medicaid by the federal government, but your state has something in particular that it calls it, and it disburses those dollars and expects the federal government to pay it back, right? So when the federal government is cutting Medicaid, places like New York and California that has the most people in America, they would still have to pay for the health care of those folks, right? Otherwise, you know, you're essentially allowing your citizens to be ill and die.
Yeah.
So they will still have to eat those costs. And then on top of that, they send the most money back to the federal government. So I just looked this up. Like Arkansas, for example, gets $1 billion more from the federal government compared to New York that sends back $89 billion back to the federal government, right? Like, the ratio is actually insane.
That is crazy. That is crazy. And no shade to Arkansas. Obviously, y'all don't have like a Wall Street, there's no like big entertainment industry like in California or tech, or we understand there are some states that are not as fortunate as in New York. And that is why, that is the agreement we have as a nation, that we will just all help each other.
Exactly,
for now.
Absolutely. That's the point I'm making. I'm not trying to pick on any particular state. We just
Yes.
happen to be talking about
we're
Arkansas
just talking about Arkansas,
right?
because we love how it sounds. Arkansas.
Right. But like the point is that like we're watching everything devolve, right? Like each state is having to uncouple from whatever the federal government is doing. For example, right, like we were going to talk about the vaccine mandates thing, but let's just bring that forward.
Let's do that now.
Yeah. Like Florida is going to make its own health commission because obviously the CDC has essentially been fucked by the Trump administration. And then Oregon and Washington, and now they've also added Hawaii, because Hawaii is like, hey, we're also over here in the Pacific.
Yeah,
They're going
and
to create their own
California.
health.
Yeah.
And California, thank you. They're going to create their own health commission, right? And this is going to continue to happen, right? Each state is going to realize, oh, actually, we don't have a functioning National Weather Service anymore. So we have to create like our own weather commission. Oh, actually, we don't have a functioning like environmental agency anymore. We have to create our own alliances for environmental rules. This is how like nations split apart. Like it's like we're soft launching a secession. I don't know where this is going.
I don't know either. And to that point about the regional health, like, so there is the West Coast states have one. And then I saw a little bit that some Northeast states as well are trying to start theirs. And it's like Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Delaware, etc., are trying to start their own health coalition. And so you may end up in a situation where the coastal states, except Florida, have vaccine mandates, and then maybe Illinois in the middle, probably Michigan, and then the rest of America is just sort of, I don't know, a petri dish for all types of diseases. Let's see how it goes. That's crazy to me, because I would never have expected, if you had come to me in 2020 and told me that we would be in a situation five simple years later where an entire state would say we don't need vaccines, I would have told you were crazy. If you had come to me in January 2020, now obviously after COVID, anything became possible. But that's insane. That is insane. And I know, Olu, you had a very strong reaction to the Florida, what is his title again? Surgeon General or whatever, telling people who is he to tell you what vaccines you should be taking.
Yes. So Florida's Surgeon General is called Dr. Joseph Ladapo. And your man went on national television and said, who am I as a government? Who am I as a man to tell you what to do with your body? And
that wasn't the best part, though. You're skipping the best part. What did he say after that? What did he say after that?
Well, okay, he said it was dripping with disdain and slavery. Is that the part?
Yep, that's the part I want to make sure we add there. He said it was slavery. He compared it to slavery. A black man compared it to slavery.
Listen, I mean, this is the fun of the Trump administration, right? There's always shit that is crazy, okay? You found that part crazy, but I found this part crazier because this guy holds an MD and a PhD. Like, he went to Harvard, right? Like,
they should get their degree back. They need to get it back.
Right. You are a Surgeon General. You are the only one in the government who should tell people what to do with your bodies. Like, that's literally your job. That's literally what you were trained for, right? Like, this is the problem. The fake language of empowerment and the fake language of freedom of choice, right? Because what happens if you remove a mandate and remove a recommendation? You have to replace it with something else, right? But these cowardly people, they take away the mandate and they're just like, yeah, you go do your own research. You go do whatever you want. You want the average person to research decades and decades of vaccine data?
They can do it. They can just feed it into ChatGPT, Olu, and that will spit out the correct response. That's what will happen. We will have MDs brought to you by ChatGPT. We'll have doctors brought to you by ChatGPT soon, because that is where we are heading. Everyone is doing their own research. It's ridiculous. I do want to play though the clip of the Surgeon General, Florida Surgeon General, telling everyone why. Who is he? Who is he as a doctor and PhD to tell you what vaccines you should be taking?
Florida law. All of them. All of them.
I just want to say those chairs are people in the audience who are apparently thrilled. They will now have a higher chance of contacting like measles and stuff. But let's keep listening.
Every last one of them is wrong and drips with disdain and slavery. Who am I as a government or anyone else, or who am I as a man standing here now to tell you what you should put in your body? Who am I to tell you what your child should put in your body? I don't have that right. Your body is a gift from God. What you put into your body is because of your relationship with your body and your God. I don't have that right. Government does not have that right. They want you to believe they have that right.
Yeah. So that is a doctor telling you, who is he to tell you what to do when it comes to your health.
Did you notice he almost said your body is your choice? And
he was so close. He was so close when he pulled back. I heard it too. He was that close. He was like, ooh, almost. Yeah. No, I heard it. I heard it as well.
I mean, just the lack of any backbone of these people. Like, this is just intellectual cowardice in full display. He knows exactly what he's saying is completely wrong, right? Because this guy signed on to Governor DeSantis's like broad sweeping anti-abortion laws, right? Like this idea that the vaccine is between you and your God. Well, an abortion is between you and your God, right? Let's say we even accept that an abortion is a mortal sin. That's for Judgment Day. That's got nothing to do with the government, right?
Because after all, who are we to judge? I thought that was a Christian mantra as well. Why are we judging?
Exactly. But again, these are the people who believe that God is on their side.
Which is interesting when you contrast this Florida Surgeon General, who is apparently using religion as the reason why he's abdicating his responsibility. Compare that to RFK Jr., who I believe is not religious, in the usual way you would expect, who is also anti-vax, to the point where he had to go in front of Congress this week to explain why he seems to be suggesting we should just get rid of all vaccine requirements for kids in school. I don't know how we got here, Olu. I want to say that as someone who did not initially know that she was not going to be a doctor, and I'm saying this is a confession. I'm sorry if you guys don't know, I was going to be pre-med in school, and then it was too much. I was like, I don't like sick people. I shouldn't do this. But
to the disappointment of all the aunties and uncles.
It was very difficult for my family to accept this, but they have come around eventually, like years later. But what I was going to say was, as someone who was maybe, let's say, going to be a doctor, I remember learning about the history of vaccines and how we came up with this magical thing. It's not 100% effective. We all know this. I mean, most people know this. I don't know if everyone knows this. But approaching perfection when it comes to protecting people from diseases that ordinarily used to kill millions of people or permanently damage the lives of millions of people. We have come so far as a species, not even a society. We have come so far. We are the only creatures on Earth that can see a disease coming and do something about it. And now in the US, the world's biggest, best, brightest country, that's in quotes, we now have a Secretary of Health and Human Services who thinks that vaccines are, evil and need to be banned. That is mind-blowing to me. That's crazy to me.
You shouldn't have to have that background though, right? It would be
You
crazy.
should not. But I just want to say for context why I feel strongly about this.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely correct, right? But the idea that, I see a lot of people say that, just we need to educate people more about vaccines. Respectfully, I disagree. This would be like somebody saying that we need to educate people more about aviation to help them choose what, plane to fly on.
Oh,
That's ridiculous.
That is ridiculous.
That's
ridiculous.
why we have the FAA. That is why we have whoever the chief of the FAA is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's his job, so that I don't have to think about it. Like this do your own research thing, this, find out for yourself thing, it's gone absolutely out of control. People have lives. Like the reason why we're a society is so that we can just move along on shared knowledge. I don't give a crap about what engine is in my car. I take it every 6 months. They tell me it's good. I believe them. I am not doing my own research, getting under the hood of my car, right? And these are all life and death scenarios, right? So it's not even like this is a weird analogy. Like these, every day, we are relying on the expertise of the people who say they know what they're talking about. We're relying on the expertise of the person who did our septic tanks to make sure that we're not poisoning ourselves. This idea that you have to do your research on everything is killing us.
Yeah, and that's one of the, the things I don't think anyone really foresaw. However many centuries ago, celebrities started saying, vaccines cause autism. Who knew that one, what's the word? I guess that belief, that flutter of a butterfly wing from, 10, 15 years ago would end up in the disaster we are in today, where one of America's most populous states has decided it doesn't need vaccines. And the irony of this, Florida is again, if you're not in the US, you may not know this, but Florida is colloquially, that's a big word, referred to as God's waiting room. They have a massive population of retirees and old people. Lots and lots of senior citizens live in Florida. Many of them on their way out, let's be real, probably not as healthy as they were when they were 20-something years old. Probably not the people who should be taking the risk that their, 6-year-old grandchild who's unvaccinated is going to give them an illness that they don't recover from. I don't get it. That's a state. If there is a state that needs herd immunity, it's Florida. So for that to be the place where this is starting is ironic to me.
But again, this is the recurring theme, right? They probably believe what he's saying, right? God is going to protect them, right? It's not science, even though we've had God for millennia and and vaccines just came over the last, several decades, they believe that God is going to protect them. They're going to make the right decisions with God.
That is so interesting because now that raises a question for me. Which prayer is God answering first? Protecting the residents of Florida who are praying to God for protection from illness, or the farmers in Arkansas? Which one do we think which prayer do we think will be answered first?
I mean, I think it depends on what tier subscription they have.
What God tier subscription do you have? Oh, we're such heathens on this podcast. Terrible line of reasoning. But, let's see what happens in these two. I mean, we will be monitoring, obviously, these two stories. I want to know what happens with the farmers in Arkansas. I want to know how Florida gets through this, because if the thing is, though, I believe the state of Florida, their state legislature still has to vote on this thing, the vaccine mandate. And so if it passes, which it probably will, because, for
Florida.
So many, it's Florida, and for so many unexplainable reasons, this whole MAHA movement actually cuts across party lines. So you may be thinking to yourself, oh, some Democrats, no, there are actually people on the left who also feel this way about vaccines. Go figure. So it probably will pass. I want to know how they get through this next school year, without vaccines. The next 2-3 school years. Let's see how it goes in Florida. And we will be watching. We will be watching.
All right. So our listeners may not know this, but Liz is a massive fan of Wuthering Heights.
Oh my God. Why are you putting me on blast?
You told me so much about Heathcliff. I've never read the book, but I feel like I have just because you've told me so much about this, about the brooding anti-hero who was so wronged.
He was wronged.
Now your Christmas is here and they're doing an adaptation. So I'm very happy for you.
Thank you. I will accept all gifts. Yes, there is a new Wuthering. Well, I actually hesitate because I don't know if anyone who's seen the promotion or the title of the movie has noticed it, but the name Wuthering Heights is in quotes. So that already should tell you where this movie is going. But for those who don't know, Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi, two very, very hot people, are going to be starring in an adaptation of Wuthering Heights. It's coming out Valentine's Day, 2026. Assuming we are still together as a nation, you should go watch it.
I love the disclaimer.
Assuming we have not descended into civil war at that point, I'm hopeful, as someone who lives on the West Coast, if there is a civil war, my state will be in an alliance with California, so we'll probably be fine. We're close to Hollywood, so I will probably be watching the movie. I don't know about the rest of y'all. But February 2026, Wuthering Heights, quotation marks, will be in theaters. The trailer came out this week to mixed reaction. There were also some test audience screenings, which also received mixed response. I think people who are familiar with Wuthering Heights already know the story of Catherine and Heathcliff. I'm actually not going to dive into this. You guys don't need me to spoil it for you if you haven't read it or not.
Okay, it's only been like 300 years.
Listen, I have no idea.
First came out.
I have no idea how long people take to read stuff. So I don't know, if you've been putting it off for about 3 centuries, I don't want to spoil it for you. Go into it blind. But the story is a tragic romance written by Emily Bronte, who has had multiple adaptations since then. But this one is getting a lot of attention because it's from the same director that did Saltburn, a very disturbing movie. And from the trailer for this new Wuthering Heights movie, it looks like we are following the same path. It will be like I saw a comment online, someone called it 50 Shades of Bronte, because it was written by Emily Bronte. It looks disturbing AF, but also really cool. And so I'm excited for it. I don't know if everyone else is, though.
I'm excited for you. I'm excited to receive the memes and the texts from you as you watch this.
Oh my God, you have to go watch it, though. What do you mean from me? You have to see it yourself. I don't want to tell you anything. I actually saw a description of the first scene in the movie, which I will not get into because it's definitely, not safe. It's not kid friendly at all. And that is not how the book starts, in case you were wondering. So I already know where this is going. It looks like it's going to be like Saltburn and just not for the faint of heart.
Well, I did enjoy Saltburn. And I mean, they're two very beautiful people. So it seems to me like a recipe for success.
That's true. Thank you for saying that. It's actually one of the controversies about the movie is because in Wuthering Heights, again, if you haven't read it, you should. It's classic literature. In Wuthering Heights, there's a lot of alluding to the fact that Heathcliff, the main guy in the book, how do I say this, may have some level of melanin in him. I don't know. I think
it's the most roundabout way of saying he's black.
No, he's not. No. Let me explain. The thing is, the reason I didn't say he's black is because it's debatable. He's described as maybe he's Indian, like from India and white, or maybe he's a Romani person or who has Romani background,
heritage.
And, yes, thank you. And so the fact that he's even remotely, a person of color.
Melanated.
Thank you. He's even remotely melanated in this obviously extremely unmelanated place is part of the story. That is part of why Catherine's father won't allow her to be with him. That is part of why he's shunned by the town. That is part of what makes him become this villain, is the way he is treated. And so Jacob Elordi is none of those things. I don't know if you guys know who Jacob Elordi is, but he is white. He is not of Romani heritage. He is not half Indian or Black or any of that. And so some people are a little annoyed by his casting. I personally am not. I understand it's an adaptation. We have seen, we've seen Game of Thrones and Harry Potter characters be switched as far as their race or ethnicity goes from the books. I don't have a problem with this, but there are people who do have a problem with it. And so that's one of the controversies surrounding this Wuthering Heights movie.
Well, it's definitely working because we're talking about it despite not getting paid for it.
Yes, that's true. If you're listening, Margot Robbie, I would love tickets to their premiere. I'm just going to toss it out there if you happen to come across this podcast.
Yes, this is a podcast where we strongly believe that people should be rewarded for their work.
Thank you. Thank you. Not that this is work, of course. I enjoy doing this. This is so fun.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Liberal Banter. We're glad to be back. We've been your hosts, Olu and Liz. We hope you enjoy the rest of your year with us. Please continue to spread the word. We will see you next week. Bye-bye now.